Hi guys, today I'll be taking a look at a community requested tactile switch, the Outemu Orange. Let's get started. Now, before I continue, if you haven't yet seen it and want more context to this review, go ahead and watch my Outemu Purple video first, as that switch is extremely similar to this one. So, just like the Outemu Purple, these orange switches is said to be the improvement version of the Outemu Brown switch, which is a very similar description of the Outemu Purple switch. In fact, if you read both descriptions, they're basically saying the same thing, minus a few words. Very strange, and you'll know why later. Now, in terms of pricing, these currently go for around £3 for 10 switches on AliExpress, placing them in the budget category. It's definitely one of the cheapest switches available in today's market. And this is what they look like when disassembled. Feel free to pause the video. Now, let's move on to the switch categories. On-center key presses are slightly scratchy for the majority of switches, with some being smoother than others. Off-center key presses range from quite scratchy to very scratchy depending on the individual switch. It's one of the most inconsistent switches I've ever come across. Overall, these are average, similar enough to the Outemu Purple in fact. 5 out of 10. Now, according to the manufacturer, these switches have an operating force of 50 grams. And that's the only spec provided, which isn't helpful. Now, in terms of the actual key feel, it's on the light side, which I'm not a huge fan of. Additionally, they aren't very tactile, and by that I mean it's similar to the Outemu Purple or the Outemu Brown. It's not great. Overall, they aren't terrible, but they aren't special either, and I'm struggling to see who this is actually for. It just feels like a rebadged switch. 6 out of 10. Now, sound is on the quiet side for a non-silenced switch, plus they're also very tinny with absolutely zero thok to speak of. Overall, not great, and I think you guys are seeing the theme here. These are average sounding switches. 5 out of 10. Now, take a listen and enjoy. Now, one of the first things I try to do with a tactile switch is to see how much of the tactility is retained when normally typing on them. And with these switches, there is zero tactility to speak of, when typing normally that is. Moreover, it makes the switches feel like scratchy linears for the most part. Plus, they feel mushier compared to other switches in its class. In other words, these switches make for a very unsatisfying typing experience. Overall, this honestly was a disappointment. Again, they aren't overly terrible switches, just bog standard. 5 out of 10. Now, gaming with these was okay. They weren't that bad, mainly because I treated them more like linear switches, as they basically performed like one. But that's not to say they were amazing. It works and it's fairly usable for gaming, but I wouldn't recommend it. Overall, if you plan to use this for gaming, it's going to perform decently and you may be okay with that. But don't expect stellar results. 6 out of 10. In conclusion, average. That's the one word I would use to describe these switches. I'm glad they aren't overpriced. Then again, they aren't very well known either. It should stay that way though. The final score for this switch is 27 out of 50 or 54%. Again, for the last time, say it with me guys, average. That's right, that's what these are. Anyway, next time I'll be taking a look at a clicky switch, as it's been a while since I've looked at one. Until then, take care and goodbye.